I found out I was not invited to my own sister's wedding through a text message that sounded like it had been written by a wedding planner, not by family. No phone call, no apology, no explanation. Just a polite little message saying the final guest list had been locked in the venue, had limited space, and they hoped I understood. I stared at those words for a long time, waiting for them to feel less insulting. The strange part was this was not a tiny courthouse wedding with 10 chairs and a nervous judge. My sister Claire was having the kind of American wedding people post about for months. A rustic barn venue outside Nashville. A rehearsal dinner. Bridesmaids in matching robes. A barbecue-style reception with smoked brisket, cornbread, mac and cheese, and an open bar. She had college friends flying in, cousins driving from Texas, and even one of our mother's old church friends who had not seen her since middle school. But somehow I had been the tough cut. I was not a distant cousin. I was not an old neighbor. I was her older brother. I was the one who drove across state lines to help her move after her last breakup. I was the one who covered her car payment when she lost her job. I was the one who answered the phone at 2 a.m. when she was crying so hard she could barely breathe. And now when it came time for the biggest day of her life, I had been treated like one extra plate they did not want to pay for. At first I tried to believe it was a mistake. Maybe the message had gone out too early. Maybe her fiancé had messed up the list. Maybe our mother had forgotten to explain something. That was the last loyal part of me trying to protect Claire from what she had clearly done. Then I opened Instagram. There she was smiling at her bridal brunch in front of a wall of champagne glasses, surrounded by more people than I had seats in my apartment. The caption read, "So blessed to celebrate with everyone who matters most. Everyone who matters most." That was when I called my mother. She answered cheerfully like nothing was wrong. I told her I had just received Claire's message. I told her I was not invited. For a second she went quiet. Not surprised quiet, guilty quiet. Then she sighed and told me not to make this about myself. I almost laughed. She said weddings were stressful. She said Claire was overwhelmed. She said the venue had limits. She said family needed to be understanding. But I knew what she really meant. I was supposed to swallow the insult. I was supposed to be calm, mature, and useful. Claire could forget me, hurt me, and use me whenever life got hard, but if I reacted, I was the problem. I asked how a wedding with more than 100 guests had no room for the bride's brother. My mother did not answer. She only said I was being dramatic. That word again. Dramatic. My family used it whenever I finally responded to something they had done. If I was hurt, I was dramatic. If I set a boundary, I was selfish. If I stopped fixing everyone's problems, I was cold. Normally, I would have argued. I would have explained myself until my voice got tired. I would have tried to prove that my pain made sense. But that night, something inside me went quiet. I looked at Claire's message again. Then I looked at her smiling Instagram post. And I realized I had two choices. I could sit at home during her wedding weekend humiliated while my family posted photos and pretended I was too busy to come. Or I could finally stop begging for a place in a family that only remembered me when they needed help. So I opened my laptop. Within an hour, I booked a week at an all-inclusive Caribbean resort. Ocean view suite, private beach, spa credit, first-class upgrade. The kind of trip I had always told myself was too expensive, too selfish, too much. By midnight, the confirmation email was in my inbox. Claire could have her wedding. I was going to have my peace. By the time Claire's wedding weekend arrived, I was not sitting alone in my apartment feeling sorry for myself. I was 30,000 feet in the air, sitting in first class watching sunlight spill across the clouds while a flight attendant handed me a glass of champagne. For the first time in a long time, nobody needed me to carry boxes, calm down a crying relative, pay for something, or pretend that disrespect was just another family misunderstanding. I took a picture of the little tray table in front of me. Champagne glass, warm towel, clouds outside the window. Then I posted it online with one simple caption, "Got cut from the guest list, but I think I'll survive." I did not tag anyone. I did not explain. I did not start drama. I simply let the truth sit there. The reactions came almost immediately. A cousin from Dallas sent 3 laughing emojis. One of my old college friends wrote legendary. My Aunt Denise, the only person in our family who still had a working sense of fairness, commented, "Good for you. Save me a beach chair." For about 10 minutes I actually smiled like I had done something harmless and funny. Then my mother saw it. Her first text came before the plane even landed. "Where are you?" The second followed less than a minute later. "Please tell me you are not actually missing your sister's wedding over this." The third was the one that made me laugh quietly into my champagne. "You are being petty." Petty. That was rich, coming from the same family that had quietly removed me from a wedding guest list and expected me to sit at home like a well-trained golden retriever waiting to be useful again. I did not answer. I turned my phone face down, leaned back in my seat, and decided the clouds were better company. When I landed the Caribbean, air hit me like a warm apology from the universe. The airport doors opened, and suddenly there was blue sky, palm trees, and that soft, salty breeze that makes every bad decision back home feel very far away. A driver from the resort stood near the curb holding a tablet with my name on it. Not Claire's name, not my mother's name, mine. That alone felt worth the money. The ride to the resort followed a road lined with palm trees, bright flowers, little beach, cafes, and ocean views so blue they looked fake. Back in Tennessee, my family was probably gathering for the rehearsal dinner, smiling for photos, acting like everything was perfect. My mother was probably telling people I could not make it because of work. Claire was probably surrounded by bridesmaids sipping champagne and not thinking about me at all. And honestly, that was fine, because for once I was not thinking about her either. The resort looked like something from a travel commercial. Open-air lobby, marble floors, huge white curtains moving in the breeze, and a smiling woman who handed me a cold drink before I even checked in. My room had floor-to-ceiling windows, a king-size bed, a private balcony, and a view of the ocean that made me stand there in silence for almost a full minute. Then, because I was still a little human and very much still offended, I took another picture. This time it was the balcony view. Blue water, white sand, a tiny table with fresh fruit, and a welcome bottle of wine. I posted it with the caption, "When one door closes, another one opens," preferably to an ocean view suite. I knew my family would see it. I wanted them to see it. Not because I was trying to ruin Claire's wedding. She had already made it clear I was not part of it. I wanted them to understand, even for a second, what it felt like when someone simply moved on without asking your permission. That evening, while they were probably at the rehearsal dinner giving emotional speeches about family, I was eating grilled seafood beside the beach with a candle on my table and live music playing somewhere near the bar. My phone kept buzzing beside my plate. "Mom, Claire." Mom again. Unknown number. Then my cousin Mark. I ignored all of them. Instead, I ordered dessert, watched the sunset melt into the water, and felt something inside me loosen. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the old habit of always running back the moment someone in my family snapped their fingers. Whatever it was, it finally started to leave. For years, I had been the dependable one, the calm one, the backup plan, the person everyone called when something went wrong but somehow forgot when something went right. Not this weekend. This weekend, Claire had the family she chose, and I had the peace I paid for. The next morning, I woke up to waves instead of family drama. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, and for a few seconds I almost forgot Claire's wedding was happening back home. I ordered room service, stepped onto the balcony in a resort robe, and watched the ocean move like nothing in the world was my responsibility. Breakfast arrived with pancakes, fresh berries, bacon, orange juice, and coffee strong enough to make me feel human again. I checked my phone only because curiosity got the better of me. The notifications were already waiting. Some cousins had reacted to my vacation posts. Aunt Denise had sent a laughing emoji and told me to enjoy every minute. But between the jokes were messages from my mother. She said people were asking where I was. She said Claire was hurt. She said I needed to stop embarrassing the family. That made me pause. I was not the one who had embarrassed the family. I had not removed myself from the guest list. I had not planned a wedding with more than 100 people and decided the bride's own brother was optional. They made that choice. I simply believed them, so I did not answer. Instead, I took a picture of my breakfast with the ocean behind it and posted, starting the day peaceful, grateful, and very well fed. Then I put my phone away and went to the beach. For most of the afternoon, I did exactly what I wanted. I swam in clear blue water. I sat under a white umbrella with a book I barely read. I listened to tourists laugh near the pool bar and let the sun do what years of family guilt had never allowed me to do: relax. By sunset, I was eating grilled shrimp at an outdoor restaurant when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Mom. Claire. Mom again. Cousin Mark. Aunt Denise. Unknown number. Then Mark again. A message appeared on the screen. Dude, you are not going to believe what just happened. I stared at it for a moment. Then another message came in. The groom left. At first I thought Mark meant he had stepped outside. Maybe he needed air. Maybe somebody had too much bourbon during cocktail hour. But then Mark sent another message. No, I mean he left. Walked out of the reception, got in his truck and drove away. I leaned back in my chair. Claire's perfect barn wedding, the one that had no room for me, had apparently fallen apart before the cake was even cut. Then my mother called again. This time I answered. She sounded breathless and angry. She did not ask how I was. She did not apologize. She simply said Claire needed me, and I had to come home immediately. Come home immediately, as if I were 5 minutes away. As if I had been waiting with car keys in my hand. As if they had not made it clear my presence was unnecessary until the exact moment everything went wrong. I asked what happened. My mother said Claire and her fiancé had a terrible fight during the reception. Something about money, his family, and a secret he had kept from her. Then he walked out in front of everyone. Guests were whispering. Claire was crying in her dress. My father was arguing near the bar. The photographer had stopped taking pictures, and now somehow it was my emergency. My mother said, "You know how to calm her down." I looked out at the dark ocean and almost smiled. Claire had not needed me when she made the guest list. So I said, "I'm sorry. I'm unavailable." My mother went silent. Then I added, "I was a tough cut, remember?" And I hung up. After I hung up, I expected to feel guilty. I waited for it, the old familiar weight in my chest that usually showed up whenever my family needed me, and I did not immediately run toward the fire. But it never came. I only felt the warm night air on my face, the ocean moving in the dark, and a strange kind of calm I had not felt in years. My phone kept lighting up beside my plate. Claire. Mom. Unknown number. Aunt Denise. Mark. Then Claire again. I watched the names appear and disappear like waves hitting the shore. For once, I did not chase after them. For once, their panic did not become my assignment. A few minutes later, Mark sent another message. "Call me when you can." This got even worse. I almost ignored it, but Mark was not like the others. He did not usually get involved unless something was truly worth hearing. So I paid my bill, walked down toward the quiet edge of the beach, and called him back. He answered immediately. Before I could say a word, he said the reception had turned into a complete disaster. After the groom left, Claire broke down in the bridal suite. Guests started whispering near the bar. The groom's family packed up early. The band stopped playing halfway through a song because nobody knew whether the party was still happening. Someone's aunt tried to organize a prayer circle in the corner. Someone else started asking if the open bar was still available since the marriage was apparently not. I should not have laughed, but I did. Mark said my mother had been walking around telling people I had abandoned the family in its most difficult moment. That part did not surprise me. What did surprise me was that Aunt Denise had finally snapped. In front of half the reception, she told my mother that I had not abandoned anyone. I had been pushed out, ignored, and treated like a spare tire until the car broke down. For a second, I said nothing. Then Mark continued. He said Grandma heard the argument and joined in from her wheelchair near the dessert table. According to Mark, she pointed her little plastic fork at Claire and said the whole wedding had bad luck from the start because no decent bride cuts out her own brother and then expects God to bless the marriage. That time I really did laugh. Not because Claire was hurting. I was not that cruel. I laughed because for the first time, someone in that family had said out loud what everyone else had been pretending not to see. Then Mark's voice got quieter. He told me Claire had finally admitted she was the one who told everyone not to invite me. It was not the venue. It was not the budget. It was not some mistake with the seating chart. She had decided I would make things awkward because I knew too much about her past relationship problems, her money issues, and the things she had hidden from her fiancé. She did not want me there because I was not easy to fool. I stood still on the sand, listening to the water move in and out. Suddenly, the whole thing made sense. Claire had not forgotten me. She had removed me on purpose. Not because there was no room, but because my presence made her uncomfortable. I was the person who remembered every version of her story, and she had wanted a wedding full of people who only saw the perfect version. Mark said after the groom left, she kept saying she needed me. She said I was the only one who knew how to talk her down. She said I always fix things. And that was the problem. I always fixed things. I fixed her rent. I fixed her car payment. I fixed her breakups. I fixed family arguments. I fixed holiday disasters, birthday fights, Thanksgiving tension, and every emotional emergency they created. Then the one time I needed basic respect, they cut me out and called it stress. I thanked Mark for telling me the truth. He asked if I was coming home early. I looked at the moonlight on the water, then back at the resort glowing behind me. No, I said. They wanted a wedding without me. Now they can have the aftermath without me too. Mark was quiet for a second. Then he said, "Honestly, man, I think you're right. When I hung up, I did not feel angry anymore. I felt clear. For years I thought being loyal meant staying available no matter how badly they treated me. That night I finally understood loyalty without respect is just permission to be used. The next morning I woke up lighter than I had felt in years. There was no tightness in my chest. No guilt sitting on my shoulders. No family emergency waiting for me to solve it before I had even brushed my teeth. Just the sound of waves, the smell of salt in the air, and sunlight pouring across the floor of my ocean view room. For a while I did nothing. I made coffee, opened the balcony doors, and watched the resort slowly wake up. A couple walked barefoot along the beach. A gardener watered flowers near the pool. Somewhere below, someone laughed like they had never heard of seating charts, family guilt, or ruined weddings. Then I turned on my phone. That was a mistake. Messages flooded in so fast the screen froze for a second. My mother had left voicemails. Claire had sent long paragraphs. Unknown numbers had called me through the night. Even people who had not spoken to me in years suddenly wanted to discuss what was best for the family. I read a few messages, not because I cared to respond, but because I wanted to see whether anyone had finally understood the point. My mother wrote that I had taken things too far. She said Claire was devastated. She said family did not turn its back during hard times. Then, in the very next message, she said I needed to stop humiliating them online. I laughed quietly. They were not upset because I was hurt. They were upset because people could see it. Claire's message was longer. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said the wedding had been stressful. She said she had made mistakes. Then she said she needed her brother now more than ever. That last sentence should have touched me. Years ago it would have. Years ago I would have packed my bag, changed my flight, and rushed home to sit beside her while she cried. I would have told her everything would be okay. I would have swallowed my own pain so I could carry hers. But not this time, because I finally understood something. Claire did not miss me at her wedding. She missed what I did for her. She missed the calm voice, the emergency plan, the person who could clean up the mess without asking why he had been excluded from the celebration. That was not love. That was convenience. I was still standing on the balcony when Aunt Denise called. She was the only person I answered. She did not ask me to come home. She did not guilt me. She simply said she was sorry. She said she should have spoken up sooner. She said everyone knew I had been treated unfairly, but most of them had stayed quiet because it was easier. That honesty meant more to me than any apology my mother had tried to force into a text message. Then Aunt Denise told me Claire and the groom's family had spent the entire night arguing. The wedding was not legally completed yet. The groom was refusing to return. Guests had gone home with gift bags and stories they would probably tell for years. My mother was furious, my father was embarrassed, and Claire was blaming everyone except herself. I listened quietly. For the first time, their chaos sounded far away. Aunt Denise asked what I planned to do when I came back. I looked at the ocean, then I smiled. "I'm not coming back this week," I said. I extended my trip. She went silent for half a second, then burst out laughing. "Good," she said. "You earned it." After we hung up, I opened my laptop and confirmed the extra days. Another week in paradise. Another week without emergency calls, forced forgiveness, and family meetings, where everyone expected me to apologize for being hurt. Then I sent one final message to my mother and Claire. I hope you both find a way to handle this. But I am done being the person you exclude when life is good and call when life falls apart. I deserved a seat at the wedding. Since I did not get one, I will not be taking a seat in the cleanup crew either. I stared at the message for a moment. Then I sent it. After that, I blocked both numbers. No dramatic speech. No long argument. No begging them to understand. Just silence. Peaceful, necessary silence. That afternoon, I walked down to the beach, ordered a drink with a tiny umbrella in it, and sat beneath a palm tree while the water shimmered in the sun. For the first time, I did not feel like the forgotten brother, the family fixer, or the backup plan. I felt free. Claire had wanted a wedding without me. My family had wanted my help without respecting my place. And life, in its strange and perfect way, had given everyone exactly what they asked for. As for me, I took one last photo of the ocean, posted it with 2 simple words, and meant them with my whole heart. 0 regrets.